Hey everyone, it's Tim from Linessa Farm Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again today. So I am in Indiana and it is currently like 20 something degrees outside. I think with the wind chill, it's like 17 or 19, somewhere in there. And it got me thinking about vitamins, because I'm sure that's what everyone thinks about when it gets freezing cold outside. But I was thinking about my round bales here. I want to take some time today to talk to you about vitamins and what happens during these cold winter months. Now, during the cold winter months here on our farm, we actually put our animals in a confinement situation. So during the summer, they're out on pasture, they're free ranging, getting everything that we need, or that they need, I should say. And we don't worry too much about the vitamins that they're getting because we know that they get a whole lot of it from the fresh pasture that they're eating. Now, we do offer a free choice mineral to our animals during those summer months, but it becomes very, very important during the winter months. Mainly, it has to do with weather. So an interesting situation arises with two very important vitamins that our animals need for immune health, reproductive health, bone and joint health. Lots and lots of different things with these animals, and those are two fat-soluble vitamins. They are vitamin A and vitamin E. Now, in fresh pasture that's growing, we don't worry too much about vitamin A and vitamin E because it grows in the plants and those animals ingest it. But here's something interesting to consider. When it comes to this stuff right here, when it comes to hay, as soon as that hay is cut and that grass or legumes lay out and they start to dry, something starts to happen, and that's called oxidation. If you've ever had an apple before and you cut it open and you let it sit out on the counter and you notice that it started to turn brown, that's an oxidation reaction. Or maybe you've seen rust form on some iron or steel. That's an oxidation reaction as well. Basically what it is it's oxygen molecules that are in the air that are attaching themselves to that item, and it's causing it to change. This happens with vitamins A and E. As soon as we cut our hay, it starts to oxidize. And believe it or not, by the time they get out and actually bale that hay, 30 to 50% of vitamin A and E in that hay is no longer usable because it has oxidized. Now, when we take our hay up to the barn and we store it, or we store it outside like we do here, it just continues and continues and continues to oxidize. And after about 6 months, almost 90% of the vitamin A and vitamin E in this hay is not going to be usable by those animals. So I wanted to take some time today to remind you that during these cold winter months when we're feeding primarily hay, or if you're in a situation where you raise your animals on full confinement, you must, absolutely must offer them a good quality free choice mineral that includes vitamin A and vitamin E. Now, there are a few other vitamins that you may be thinking of. You may be thinking of vitamin D. Vitamin D is mainly produced by the animal itself through sunlight that they absorb and through their skin. Vitamin C, not as nearly important when it comes to ruminants because they can actually produce vitamin C in their livers. And then vitamin B is actually made inside their gut, inside that rumen. It's actually produced by bacteria within that rumen. So when we look at degradation of vitamins, we're mainly concerned with vitamin E and vitamin A. Now, a lot of people ask, well, what if my hay is baled really, really well? That does help a little bit. Just because it's green, just because it looks good, doesn't mean that this process is not happening. So that's something for you to consider. Now, you can see we keep our bales wrapped here across the top. We do let the air go to them so they don't get moldy. I just keep this from allowing water to go through and leach this hay. Actually, it looks like heck, you can see, but if I actually get into it just a little bit here, you can see it's actually pretty darn good. A little stemmy, this is first cutting hay. If you enjoy the content that you're watching right now, make sure to give us a thumbs up and please subscribe. So the next question I get asked a lot is, what about pasture? Now, we've mowed down our pasture about a month ago, getting prepared for the winter. And you can see that some of this is still green. We've got things like orchard grass and ryegrass and some clover. You can see we've got some clover in here as well. Over the period of the winter here in Indiana, this is going to start to turn brown, and that oxidation effect happens as well. Once this stops growing, once it gets cold and it starts to dry out, it will start to oxidize as well, and that vitamin A and that vitamin E start to drop. So even if you have your animals out on pasture during the winter time, definitely something that you need to consider. Now, if you live in a warm environment where you've got growth all year round, not nearly as big of a deal for you, but still something for you to think about. We tend to say, regardless of what kind of a situation you have on your farm, whether it's full confinement, out on pasture all year round, we want to make sure that you're offering your animals a good quality, free choice mineral with all the vitamins and nutrients that they need. Last thing I want to touch on briefly is silage and baleage. So I talked about how when it gets oxidized, how that vitamin A and E really suffer and degrade. Baleage and silage aren't nearly as bad because they're in an oxygen-free environment and they can last significantly longer. Now, we're not going to get into baleage and silage today. It does have other attributes that you need to consider, such as spoilage, mold, bacteria, things like that. But for those of you that have a good handle on baleage and silage, I would still consider the free choice minerals, but you are in much better shape than those of us that feed dry hay or are winter grazing on pasture. Thanks for watching our video today. It's greatly appreciated. If you are not yet a member of our Facebook group, go ahead and do a quick search for Linessa Farms Tack Box. I will place that information right here. This is our online forum where you can ask and answer questions related to sheep and goats. If you're looking for free choice mineral, go to your local provider to get some, or check us out online at www.linessafarms.com. I'm Tim from Linessa Farms Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again today, and I look forward to seeing all of you again next time.